Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarini Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, and welcome all the devotees to the level 2 Bhagavad-gita classes from ISKCON Mangaluru. So
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So last week we completed the 12th chapter. Um, So with that, we ended the devotional chapter, isn't it? So it was Bhakti Yoga, which we ended. So first 6 chapters were Karma Yoga, second 6 chapters are Bhakti, right? So today we'll be going into Jnana Yoga. Okay. So before going to Jnana Yoga, right, a quick recap of 12th chapter, isn't it? So in 12th chapter, we went into different things, isn't it? It was a short chapter, but a very impactful chapter, I would say, right? So basically, the chapter started with Arjuna's question: so which is better, personal, impersonal? And the Lord says that personal is better, impersonal is what problematic, isn't it? Klesho adhikaraste, right? He says it's a lot of klesha is there. So then, even he actually gives so what type of devotional services we can do, right? So there are 4 categories, right? So Ananya Bhakti, so if we can't do Ananya Bhakti, there was another thing so where we can do Sadhana Bhakti. So if we cannot do Sadhana Bhakti, then do uh, what was it? Sakama, right? So Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? So again, those were 2 parts of it. And then if nothing, then at least meditate on him, right? Suppose that we went into the next section, so which were the 8 shlokas, you remember? So which are known as Priyastaka. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, right? So those 8 verses, 12.2 to 12.20, they are called Priyastakas. Okay, so wherein the Lord actually informed, saying that who are very dear to him, right? And then he is swift deliverer also, right? So with that, we ended 12th chapter, right? So now we are getting into Jnana Yoga. So next 6 chapters are Jnana. Okay. So in the initial prelude, or say during our first or second chapter discussions, we said that the if it is a jewel box, right? So the lower covering is Bhakti Yoga, and then so the jewel, no, sorry, the lower cover is Karma Yoga, and after that the jewel is devotional service, and the upper covering is Jnana Yoga. Okay. So now, why do we need this section? Okay, so why this 6 chapters, isn't it? So what happens is this will actually teach us how to achieve bhakti through knowledge. Okay, so this is also necessary, isn't it? So this will give us a lot of philosophical information. Okay, and then so now if you will see, so Krishna in this 6 chapters he'll discuss so much about character, right? So which is very so important. So we saw, so he spoke a few of the things there, and then now in this chapter also he will say, he will actually introduce to uh, the process of knowledge for liberation. Okay, so which actually in which he'll discuss 20 qualities. Okay, so Jnana actually helps us. Okay, so Jnana will help us to detach ourselves from Maya and subsequently attach towards Bhakti, or towards Krishna. Okay, so this knowledge when utilized with devotion, right, it becomes part of bhakti. Similarly, karma also, if it is tagged with bhakti, then it has got value. Okay, so or else both are not of bigger use unless bhakti is in it to it. Okay, so whatever we do, either it is karma yoga, either it is bhakti yoga, or it is jnana yoga. So in all of them, right, we should have bhakti. Else, if it is only one thing, then it is of no use. Okay. So in this chapter, right, again you will see that Arjuna will ask questions. Okay. So basically, he'll ask 6 questions, right? And then Arjuna will actually end up, Arjuna will ask this question, and Krishna will end up answering these questions in this whole chapter. Okay. So we'll see through what's the question Arjuna asks. Okay. Yeah, we went through these things. Okay, yeah, these are the things which Arjuna is going to ask. Okay, Arjuna is going to ask about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and Jnayam. Okay, so this is the thing. So the whole chapter will be actually revolving around it. Okay, post which Krishna will answer the question about Kshetra and Kshetrajna first. Okay, so the field and the knower of the field. And then from 3.8 to 12, he actually answers the process of liberation. Okay. So he'll actually talk about Gnayam. And then, so here he'll talk Jnana, he'll talk Gnayam, and rest he'll spend in Prakriti and Purusha. Okay. Yeah. Why is this moving here and there? So basically, this is what we spoke through also, right? So Jnana is nothing but perfection of Jnana will lead to Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So even actions performed to please Krishna, right? So that will also culminate to bhakti. Okay. Yeah. So the question, say if bhakti is the culmination, why jnana is presented in the 6 chapters? Okay. In truth, the entire Bhagavad Gita is bhakti, isn't it? So every chapter you see, right? So without bhakti, it doesn't complete, isn't it? Right, so the last 6 chapters describe how to achieve it through knowledge. So that's what we actually went through. All right, so the last 6 chapters provide the philosophical knowledge necessary to extricate oneself from the material world. So jnana has its use in assisting our detachment. This we spoke, right? So all these things we covered, so we'll just bang on, we'll go here. So Arjuna Vacha, right? Arjuna Vacha, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva, Kshetra Kshetrajnam Eva cha, Etad Vidutam Ichhami, Jnanam Jneyam cha Keshava. Okay, so this is the question he is asking. So this is the actually PG 13.1 and 2. You will see that Arjuna asks and immediately Krishna responds also. Okay. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram iti abhidhiyate etadyo veti tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tad vidaha. So Arjuna's question. Okay. So Arjuna has asked about the 6 things. Okay. So his question is about Prakriti. Okay. Purusha. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and Neyam. Okay. So Prakriti, as the word uh, tells him, right? So it is material nature. So he's asking about material nature. Purusha, the enjoyer of the matter. Okay. Kshetra, field in which one can act within the material world. Okay. Kshetrajna, entity which actually experiences the field of action. So jnanam is the knowledge and the process of acquiring this knowledge. Okay. Jnayam is nothing but the object of knowledge. Okay. So this is a little bit technical though, but yeah, so we'll have to understand this because this is important. Okay. So basically here, right, so the body is there, right? So basically in this you'll have to understand that the kshetra is nothing but the body. Okay. So it is the field of activity because we know, right, say from previous chapter, the conditioned soul. So the conditioned soul actually needs, because it wants to lord it, right? So the nature of the conditioned soul is to lord over the material nature, isn't it? So for that, right, so he needs a field, isn't it? So for us, if you look in, right, the kshetra is our body, our kshetrajna is the soul. Okay. So this particular body, right? So that is the kshetra. So our soul is has the capacity, its limitation is to play around this body senses. Okay. So that's the reason it has got a kshetra and kshetrajna. Okay. So, and then we know the kshetra of our own kshetra, right? So I don't know so what is happening in my neighbor's body. I'll not know if he's having toothache, he's having something unless he tells me, right? So I'll not know, right? And then, so whatever designations we have in, right? Say, like, say I'm a boss, I'm this, I'm a man, I'm a woman, right? So these are all bodily designations, okay? So these are all material. So that is kshetrajna, okay? So that's the thing, yeah. So here Arjuna said, oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, Purusha, and the field of the knower of the field and of knowledge and the end of knowledge. Okay. The blessed Lord said, the body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. So this is Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So take the example. So we'll take some real life examples. Okay. So wherein so you can connect. Okay. So and one will take from Prabhupada's purport also. Okay. So basically, if there is a child, right, and then a small baby, right, and then he's playing with his toys, right. So his access i- is limited to the toys which are put in that room in front of him, right. In that way, you can understand one of the crude examples. Okay. Yeah. So and then these things would be discussed in these verses. Okay. So as I said, right, first Kshetra and Kshetrajna will be actually covered. And then the Kshetrajna are also of two types. One is soul and super soul. Okay. So these things will cover it as we move on. Yeah. And then Jnanam is nothing but understanding about the soul and super soul. So that's the Jnanam. Jnayam is the goal of knowledge is to understand the Paramatma. Okay. The Paramatma is nothing but the Lord, right? Yeah. And then this is an example. Okay. So which is there in the purport itself. Okay. So basically, um, if there is a king or a big landlord, so maybe think an example of the king only, which is being mentioned in the purport, right? And then if the king actually divides the whole village or so the paddy fields which he has in, right? So if he actually divides into one acre and then he distributes to the farmers, okay? So the farmer owning 1 acre. So for example, I got 1 acre in that allotment, right? So my Kshetrajna is at 1 acre, right? So that is the soul, okay? But whereas the king, and then I know so what I am growing in my field, okay? But if you look at the king, right? So king is the owner of the whole paddy fields, right? So whatsoever acres they were, so say 100 acres. So, and then he is the proprietor of it, and then he knows what is happening in each and every field, right? So that's the knower. So in the Kshetrajna, I said that there are two, right? So one is the soul and the super soul. The soul is limited to the his own area, right? Whereas the Kshetrajna is spread across. So he knows everything, right? So as the example of a king, right? So he is super soul. So, so the soul and super soul can never be equal, right? So that's the understanding we should have it. Because the Lord as Paramatma, he is there on every living entity. He knows the past, he knows the present, he knows the future. And then he knows what we have done, right? And then he knows what your neighbor is also doing, right? But we don't know, right? So that's called the super soul. Okay. So basically, this is Kshetra, or this is for the conditioned soul. Okay. So because the same thing, so you just want to lord it over, right? So that's the reason. Say he has been given this particular form, Kshetra, and then Kshetragna is the knower of the field. Okay. And then this is basically 13 to 18. Yeah. So first 6 chapter will discuss the knower of the body and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord. So we get to know that we are not the body, right? And we are the soul. Similarly, the midsection, Bhakti Yoga will actually give us the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul, right? This will 13 to 18 will actually explain how living entities will be delivered through the Lord through different methods, right? And then how this living entity, so when it comes in contact with the material nature, right? It dances on the three gunas, right? So that also will come in the next chapters where we'll see the dancing of the three gunas. Okay. So he says, Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu Bharata Kshetra Kshetrajnayor Jnanam Yaj Taj Jnanam Matam Mama. So he says, O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all the bodies, and to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. Okay. So this is the knowledge which the Lord says. Okay. So he says that that is his opinion. Okay. So the same thing, right? Wherein the super soul knows everything, isn't it? So whereas the soul is limited. Yeah. So the other thing is even we'll actually see further. Okay. The different studies also, right? So like the example of we'll see the painter. Okay, the painter painting and the SL, so which will actually come in. Okay, so which is actually three different things, wherein Prakriti, Purusha, and the Ishvara also it will come in. So this is basically the owner. And so the other thing is, say, if we look at our limitations also, right? So if you actually compare to the material world also, right? Say for example, That is an IT professional. Okay. So mostly, see, he'll be knowing his field is into what? Into IT, right? So whatever is related to IT. Okay. But will he have any knowledge about medicine? No, isn't it? So think about in medicine itself. So there are so many streams, right? So there are dentists, there are ortho, right? So there are neuro doctors, there are skin doctors, right? So one doesn't know what is happening on the other. That's the reason we have got so many specializations for each body part, isn't it? So this is very complex, and the Lord only knows everything. So with our material senses, right, so we'll not know beyond that, right? So even if you take the example of a carpenter, so carpenter, what does he do? So in his whole life, right, so he'll be dealing only with the different kinds of woods and the carvings. Apart from that, he'll not do anything else, isn't it? So in that way. So Lord actually Krishna defines Kshetra and Jnanam. Okay. So there are two kinds. Okay. Two knowers. So that is soul and super soul. Okay. So Kshetra is known, Kshetrajna we know. So these all things we discussed, right? Yeah. So understanding position of Prakriti, Purusha and Ishvara, these things will come, we'll see. Okay. So these things we'll see in the later side. Basically, you can get the differences first, and then I'll even, there is a diagram, so wherein I'll show that the analogy, right? So understanding between the painter, right? So the one who paints it and the painting and the stand, right? So we should not get confused saying that everything is same, right? So in that way, so there is an pictorial representation which I'll show, and then you'll get to understand. Okay. So what is the difference between soul and super soul, right? So the soul is Jivatma. Okay. Super soul is Paramatma. Okay. So we are small, tiny. The Lord is Vibhu, right? So we are only cognizant of one's own body. So he's cognizant of everything, right? Soul is secondary proprietary for one body. Analog is citizens as the proprietor of to the land, right? So this is the same thing we discussed. Soul is the secondary controller of senses, right? Supreme Lord is the supreme controller of senses, right? So he is Rishikesha. So we know, right? Uh, so Rishikesha is one who actually controls. The master of senses is Rishikesha, isn't it? So we are fallible, he is infallible, right? So anything which is matter will perish, isn't it? Anything which is transcendental, that is Satchitananda. So there is no diminishing. Yeah. So soul is always a subordinate. So super soul is superior, right? I think that's enough. Yeah. So this is what I was saying. So these things you should know. So don't get confused with Purusha, Prakriti, and Ishvara. Okay. So Purusha is like the enjoyer of the nature, is like the ASL. Prakriti is like the painting, and then Ishvara is like the painter. So this analogy has been given in the purport, hence this thing has come in. Okay. So if you have any time, so then you can read through. Okay. So now, right, the Lord actually says, he takes this further, right? And then he says that these things which I spoke, right? So now Krishna will propose 5 points. Okay. So basically, if you look in, right, in this particular verse, so he'll actually say, now please hear my brief description of the field of this field of activity, how it is constituted, what changes are, whence it is produced, who that knower of the field of activity is, and what is his influence of area. So these are 5 questions basically. Okay. So how the body is constituted, what changes the body undergoes, how and when the body is produced, identity of the knower. Okay. And then the influencer. Okay. And then now you'll see that the Lord also will give references. Okay. So the Lord actually will actually share us the references saying that these things, this knowledge of the field and activities which he has been explaining, right? So these have been explained by the rishis. Okay, so he is also giving reference. Okay, so he's actually giving us an example wherein if we quote anything, right? So there should be some um something at the end. So something at the back end. Sorry. So like there should be some shastric evidence. Okay, so he's saying that these things have been told by Rishivir Bahuda Gitam. So they have been actually told this. Okay. So this Brahma Sutra, Padesh Cheva, right? So all these things, this knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in the various Vedic writings. It is especially present in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as cause and effect. So he's giving you the evidence also, reference saying that all these details if you want, then you'll have to go to Vedanta Sutra. So who composed Vedanta Sutra? Anyone knows?
Prabhuji, Ved Vyas.
Correct. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So you said Vyasadeva only, no?
Ved Vyas, I said. Ved Vyas.
Okay, yeah.
Vyasadeva.
So that's what I thought. I heard. I didn't hear properly. Okay, that's Vyasadeva, Mataji. Okay.
Yes.
So Vyasadeva is the author of Vedanta Sutra. He says that so these things, this are more defined in that particular thing. And then he gives the example of his father also, Vyasadev's father. Okay, so it's Parashar Muni. So he also wrote on this. Okay, he's saying go and refer all those things. Yeah, and then we will see in Taittiriya Upanishad also, right? So this Brahma Pucham. So there is one about the Kshetra and the two kinds of kshetragya, right? So there is a description, right? There is a description of the supreme energy. Okay. So there are 5 different stages. Okay. So even that is being discussed. So that's there in this. So in the purport also it is there. So I picked up from there only. So these are the 5 different stages. Okay. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, okay, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. Okay. So this is basically stated in Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji, anyone can read this?
Can I read?
Okay, good, Mataji.
As stated in Taittiriya Upanishad 2.5, Brahma Pucham Pratishta, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is a materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then, in Pranamaya, after realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth in food, one can realize the absolute truth in the living symptoms or life forms. In Jnana Maya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnana Maya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. The next and supreme stage is Ananda Maya, realization of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realizations which are called Brahma Pucham. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So these are basically the 5 stages of Brahman realization. Okay. So Annamaya is the initial stage. Okay. So the beginning stage where food is the supreme object of realization. Okay. So then, so once one is satisfied with food, right? So the next thing is he actually thinks about the living symptoms of life forms. Okay, one would like to preserve his life, right? Say pranamaya, say like having an house and all those things, right? So food, shelter, right? So and then jnanamaya, so realization to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. So this is the next step. So when one actually passes this stage, right? So one actually appreciates the different interactions of this. So he actually thinks of, he concentrates on the mind, intelligence, and the emotions, right? So he gets some realization in Jnanamaya. And then in Vijnanamaya, right? So he has the realization between the living entity's mind and the life symptoms. Okay. So he actually can realize self as different from the field of activity. Okay. So body and soul, all those things he'll get. And then Anandamaya is the highest, which is all blissful. Okay. So in this state, right? So he has the distinction between the Atma and Paramatma. Okay. And then he actually has that loving relationship. Okay. So that prema bhakti is called Anandamaya, which is the highest perfection. Okay. So, and in this, right, first three categories, right? So, like Anandamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya. So, these are gross and subtle. These are Kshetra. Okay. And Kshetrajna is Vijnanmaya and Anandamaya. Okay. So, for us, the perfection, for us, right, the perfection of living entity is to enjoy the what? Anandamaya. Okay. So that would be the final stage. Okay. So if we can go through there. Okay. Yeah. Shubhra Mataji, do you want to read this?
Yes, Babaji. Hare Krishna. In the phenomenal manifestation, there are three stages: the stage of consciousness, the stage of semi consciousness in dreaming, and the stage of unconsciousness. But your Lordship is transcendental to all these different material stages of existence. You exist, therefore, in the fourth dimension, and your appearance and disappearance do not depend on anything beyond yourself. You are the supreme cause of everything, but of you there is no cause. You yourself cause your own appearance and disappearance. Despite your transcendental position, my Lord, in order to show your six opulence and advertise your transcendental qualities, you have appeared in your different incarnations: fish, tortoise, boar, Narsimha, Keshav, and others, by your personal manifestation. And you have appeared as different living entities by your separated manifestations. By your internal potency, you appear as the different incarnation of Vishnu, and by your external potency, you appear as phenomenal world.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji. So all these things, all these stages, and all these things are for us. It's not for the Lord. Okay. So he comes at his own will, and then he goes at his own will, and then he comes into in different forms, right? And then so every incarnation he comes in, there is a purpose. And then so every incarnation he may take the incarnation as an animal, right? So he may take the uh, I would say incarnation of a lower species, okay? So which is like a fish or a boar, but that doesn't mean that so he has got those qualities. He's always transcendental, right? So and everything, as I said earlier also, so every incarnation has a purpose. The reason he took the boar because he wanted the tusks, because he had to go and lift Mother Earth. Yeah. So that's a different story. So it will take time, but you should know it. So now the next verse. Okay. So now we'll go into the 3.6 and 7. Okay. basically this verse will indicate the field or body is a non-permanent thing. Okay. So what does it constitute of? Okay. So basically the components of the fields and their activities. So we'll go through those thing. Okay. And the interaction. So basically Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So the interaction of Kshetrajna with the Kshetra. Okay. Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhir avyaktam eva cha indriyani dashikim cha panchachendriya gochara ichhadvesha sukham dukkham sangatas chetana dhriti etat kshetram samasena savikram udartam. So the five great elements. Okay, so the five great elements are nothing but the gross elements, right? So what are they? Earth, water, air, right? Ether, and the false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the five sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate life symptoms and convictions. All these are considered in summary to the field of activities. So these are the field of activities, okay, and its interactions. So these are altogether 24 elements, so which we will be dealing in. Okay. So,
Prabhuji, one
hmm,
question from here in this sloka only. What is this unmanifested? Unmanifested.
Air
The,
Mataji.
the five great elements: false ego, intelligence, and
Uh,
the manifested.
those are
So,
subtle.
this,
So in the next slide, you'll get to know.
okay.
Okay. So basically, the things which these are all subtle things, Mataji. Okay. False ego, intelligence, right? So man, buddhi, ahankar. So that is the unmanifested one. So basically, these are the 24 elements. Okay. So out of which you see man, buddhi, ahankar. Yeah? So first thing is these five great elements. Okay. So all these things you can feel. So these are all subtler. Okay. So which you cannot see. Okay. So those are the things unmanifested. Okay. So five bhutas or the five great elements, right? So those are what? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Okay. And then these are five objects of senses. Okay. Form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. You might have heard, say in Hindi, you might have heard, right? Um, Rupa, Sparsha, right? Gandha, and all those things you might have heard, right? So these are 10. Okay. And then these are five knowledge acquiring senses and five working senses. Okay. The five working senses are what? Five knowledge acquiring senses are what? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Okay. These are basically the knowledge acquiring senses. And then five working senses. Okay. Five working senses are what? Hands, legs, voice, anus, and genitals. Okay. So basically, this in computer language, you can say these are input, IO, input and output operations. Okay. So if you can remember that way, that's okay. And then these are okay. Yeah. This is the okay. So this is mana. So man, buddhi, ahankar. So these are three things we know, right? These are subtle, and then avyaktam, the unmanifested. Okay, so these are avyaktam or the pradhana. Okay, Mataji, so that's to be more precise, right? So this is avyaktam or the unmanifested. Okay, these are three modes of material nature. Okay, so that's the thing. That's called pradhana. Okay, those things we'll actually read that will come. Okay. So basically these things, even it's there in the purport only. Okay. So Prabhupada has given this description in the purport. Okay. So basically, these are the transformation of the field. Okay. So field is nothing but our body. So we know that anything which is material actually takes birth, grows, stays, produces something, dwindles, and then death. So these things is inevitable. Could be anyone. Could be the richest person of the world. So could be the person who is below poverty line. Doesn't matter. Okay. So these 6 things you cannot get out of it. Okay. The, for a jiva, right? Whosoever is born for him, so these things are bound to happen. Okay. So interaction of the fields of activities, desire and hatred, happiness and distress. So these things are always there, right? So these things will never go. So when you interact with these fields, right? So either you'll get, sometimes you'll get pleasure, sometimes you'll get pain, isn't it? So I think these are more or less the same thing only. Okay. So 6 actually explains what the field of activity consists of. 7 explains the transformations. Okay. So those transformations we have already covered. Yeah. So we'll go into the next section. So all these things you can remember, Mataji. So just to know, right? What are the 24 elements? Okay. So just to have knowledge. Okay. So all these things are not important. So it's not that so you'll have to remember everything of these things. Okay. So that's okay. So if you know 24 elements and then you can connect through them, that's fine. Okay. So the reason I'm saying is it goes little bit technically. So you just try to first understand, grasp the knowledge, and then later on, so you can actually by heart them. So process of knowledge. So now he actually gives. So this is what Jnanam, isn't it? So cultivation of these qualities. So from 13.8 until 12 is the real method of acquiring knowledge, and then anything apart from this is ignorance. Okay. So Krishna actually gives very clear instructions here. Okay. He says that anything, uh, so which are not in this categories. Okay. So anything which doesn't fall in these categories, right? So which we are going to discuss. Okay. So, so rest all is is unimportant. Okay. So basically, so that's what he's saying. Or it's ignorance is saying. So these are the verses. Okay. So 3.18 to 12. Okay. There's only one verse. Huh? So you'll have to bear with me with patience. Okay. So, but because these are all the qualities which Lord Krishna is actually talking. Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantir, Arjavam, Acharyo, Acharyo, Upasanam, Socham, Stairyam, Atma Vinigraha, Indiyartheshu, Vairagyam, Ahankara eva cha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asakter anabhishvanaga putradara gradeshu nityam cha samachitvatvam ishthanistho pap papatishu maichan mai cha ananya yogena भक्तिर अव्यभिचारेण अभिचारेणि विविक्तदेश सेवित्वम् आर्तिर्जनसंसद्धि आध्यात्मज्ञान नित्यात्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानार्थ दर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यत् अतो अन्यथा So he says, rest all is ajnanam. Okay. So anything apart from this is considered to be, so cultivation of these qualities is the actual knowledge, and anything apart from this is ignorance, is what the Lord is saying. Okay. So all these qualities, right? So we'll actually go through them. Okay. So these qualities are humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the object of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with wife, children, home, and the rest, even mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All this I declare to be knowledge. Okay. So
So
this
this is,
is
out of this, nothing is taught in school.
uh, so
In school, nothing is taught.
so this is knowledge, rest all is bogus. Okay. All these I, because Krishna is declaring, okay, I'm not declaring these things. So this is what Krishna is telling, right? And besides this, whatever is there, that's all ignorance. Okay. But in this, right, so you'll see, so the this thing, right? So unalloyed devotion to me. So if you don't have this, right, so this is the first criteria. Okay. If you have this, then rest 19 category, 19 qualities have a value. So if you don't have devotional service, and then if you're trying to aspire other 19 qualities, right, nothing is going to happen, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. So basically in this discussion, right, so this is the real method of acquiring knowledge. Okay. So what is ignorance? Anything speculated beyond this knowledge is nonsense. Okay. How to test one's progress? Judge by qualities like humility and pridelessness, etc. Okay. The first thing itself is humility. Okay. So how how do the process of Krishna consciousness helps the sadhaka? So here the sadhaka has been given. Okay. So being convinced that I am subordinate. Okay. Humility is the beginning of the knowledge. So at least we understand that we don't have any capacity, right? So everything is the Lord who is giving us the capacity, and then say we are here like a tenant. Okay. So this life we have got a, a body of human being as a tenant. Okay. So if we leave this body, so tomorrow we don't know which house you are going to be. So what kind of body you'll get in? Okay, this life, this is. So when we are as a tenant, right? So we should utilize, we should use it properly, right? So being a tenant, so if you spoil and destroy everything, right? So the owner will not uh, give you any. Next time if you come also, he'll not give you the same house. Okay. So you'll have to search for something else. Okay. So that's the thing. Huh? Yeah. So now we'll start, we'll discuss these qualities and then we'll wrap up today. Okay. So this is the list of qualities. Among them, the first quality which is being told is humility. Okay. So humility, I think that's precious these days, isn't it? So with the kind of environment and the kind of upbringings are there, right? So I think humility is very rare these days. So in fact, all these items are very rare. So these are all rare commodities. So only these things we'll get to know in these classes, and then possibly we may also not be following all of them, right? So that's the thing. So humility is one. So wherein one is not anxious. Okay. for getting honored, right? So he's not say waiting to get honors, right? So and then accolades, isn't it? So the material conception. So actually, the if someone is attached to the material stuff, right? She is very eager, isn't it, for honor, right? Take the example of the current trend of the generation, right? So wherever they go, they make a post. They do so much hangama in Instagram, Facebook, this book, that book, right? So without that, and then they want people like put more likes, right? So what are all these things? These are all nothing but hankering for material things, isn't it? So we want to become famous among our peer group or say among our these things, right? Isn't it? Say our relatives, right? So all these things. So that shouldn't be there. Even the pride, right? Honor, dishonor should be taken in the same thing, right? Neither you should get super excited when you have honor, and then you should not get demoted when you are dishonored. Because this place is there, people will honor and dishonor you. So if this material life is like that only, if two people will actually come and actually say honor you, right? So two or three will actually ditch you out also. So you should be equal. Okay. And then non-violence. So non-violence doesn't mean that killing or destroying someone. Okay. But it actually means that we don't actually give distress to others. Okay. So that's the meaning of non-violence here. Okay. So we should practice so the spiritual knowledge in such a way that say we don't actually um, make others into distress. Okay, so that's the thing. And then next quality is tolerance. Okay, so the same thing, right? So tolerance is again what? So you should bear honor and dishonor. So right, so it should be like what? Trinat api sunechena tarurapi shaheshnuna amani namanadena kirtaniya sadahari. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. So you'll have to be um, say tolerant, right? So as a blade of grass, isn't it? So in that way, right? Even the example of Prahlad Maharaj, right? So who was having his life threat day in and day out, say, right? Every day he'll sleep and then by the morning he'll get up, he'll be having a threat. But he was tolerant, so he never actually showed any reaction, right? So that's the thing. And simplicity is the other thing. Simplicity is what? So not have duplicity, right? So hypocrisy. So that is very common these days, isn't it? So which is not genuine, isn't it? So most of the things, if you look in office or in the external world also, right? So if anyone is coming to you, right? So I don't say that majority of them are like that. So except your family and friends, okay? So the closer ones, apart from that, right? So it's all business only. So no one will actually come to you to do a free service. Okay. So he'll be having some agenda. Okay. So he'll come with that agenda only. So he might be helping you today, but say he might be expecting something from you. Yeah. So these things are there. So, but we should be actually simple, right? So no diplomacy. It should be straightforward, and then we'll have to tell the truth to be to an enemy also. So we should not actually fear. So take the example of Vidura, right? So Vidura was living with whom? Dhritarashtra, isn't it? Dhritarashtra was his elder brother. And then Vidura was a saintly person, and then he knew all the politics which Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra are hatching, right? And then he used to tell them on their face itself, saying that these things are, you're not doing the right thing. That's the reason, right? Duryodhana got angry before the war, and then he said that you should actually leave this place, right? So he spoke very harshly. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, and then one should actually approach. Okay, so to the spiritual master. Okay, so and then he can actually give us. Okay, so if he is pleased, right, so he'll give us the blessing, right, so, and then only we can actually move ahead. So we should know about the meeting of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Okay, so Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, one was the prime minister and another one was the home minister, finance minister. One was finance, another was prime minister in the Nawab sa- dynasty. Okay, so and then when they went, and then they had their own palaces at that time. Okay, and then they went, when they first met with Lord Chaitanya, right? So they fell on his feet by taking the straws in their mouth. Okay, so that's the way. Say they had the humility. Okay, so yeah, the next thing we'll take up cleanliness. Okay, so cleanliness should be in two ways. Okay, one is external and internal. So external stuff I need not tell, right? So this is all external, like bathing and all those things, right? So our attire and everything, fresh clothes and all those things, right? And internal by chanting the Maha Mantra and then so removing the accumulated dust, isn't it? And then steadiness means very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Okay, so problem is whenever we'll say that we are intended or inclined towards the spiritual life, right? So everyone gets bothered, right? So the family, friends, everyone become so they'll say that what has happened to this person, isn't it? So but we'll have to have steadiness, right? So else we'll not be able to move forward, right? So and the other thing I'll touch base is about detachment of from children, wife and home, right? So this thing, after reading this, you might be thinking that what is this, right? So do we have to take sannyas, right? So it's not like that. Okay, so nobody is saying okay to leave. So you're on this one, so whatever responsibilities we have, okay, so we should have detachment once we have fulfilled whatever we were supposed to do. Okay, so once we have done all the activities, right, and so after that, if you still feel that your family members are not supporting you for your spiritual progress, okay, then at that time you can actually detach, or else in the family itself, right? So we can actually make the home very happy, right? So by making Krishna as the center, right? So by involving everyone in practicing bhakti, like someone brings a garland, someone brings water, right? So someone cleans, someone cooks prasadam, someone does a bhajan, right? So all these things we can do, isn't it? So if you feel that, so you are actually neglected, right? And then and in those cases, that distance can happen, but that too when we have actually done our part, okay, and then when they are independent. So for example, in the past, if you look in, right, so the kings used to be there, right? So the kings usually say they'll actually be there until the Vanaprastha. Okay, after that they'll actually hand it over to their sons. Okay, so the princess, and then they'll make their king, and then they'll move to the uh, jungles or forests. They'll go, and then why? Because they want to meditate at that time, right? So the rest part of their life they want to actually utilize for uh, the greater purpose, which is nothing but to connect to the Lord. Okay. In that sense, it is being said. Okay, so don't take it otherwise. Okay, happiness and distress are given, right? So, what is happiness? So, I was listening into an lecture. Okay, so where it's been said that happiness is the time between two distress. Okay, whatever time is there between two distress, right? So that's called happiness. Okay, it is very short. Okay, and aspiring to live in yeah, solitary places, detachment from general masses. Yes, this is also important. Okay, so when say there are and then these things, right? So giving unnecessary cinema talks, right? So cricket, all these things, right? So are they going to give you any benefit? Mere wastage of time, isn't it? So all these things you'll have to slowly reject it. Okay. So there is full list. We can't go through this. I have covered so whatever I could, but these are the 20 items. So this is what is required. These are the things, right? So we should, if you can remember all these things, then this is very good. Okay. So we should cultivate only these qualities. The rest all are waste. Okay. So I'd request you to read this purport. So this is a very big purport which Prabhupada has taken a lot of time to write in. Okay. So maybe in your BVs, Mataji, so you can pick this. So because this is very important. Yeah. So this is the actual knowledge and everything else is ignorance. Okay. So even these things you can create an Excel, put these things one-sider. So do we have any of these qualities, or how do we achieve, imbibe these qualities? If we don't have, maybe first year couple of them, second year we can take new year resolutions, right? And then keep on adding these qualities. Yeah, it's very tough. Okay, so even so the great sages and all say they'll only find tough, but yes, if these things are there, so nothing like that. Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you for your association. If you have any doubts in today's class, you can ask.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, which in this na there was two things, the internal potency and external
Ah,
potency.
Mataji.
So internal potency, basically we say Aladini Shakti is Radha Rani ji, and
Yes.
external potency is Durga Devi. So this here how we just connect Prabhuji, like internal potency means like all the qualities of God, I think. So like all the potency, like whatever the God has,
Uh,
the Shakti of God is
mm,
uh, Radha Rani ji. But how we can by example, what
mm.
is external potency? In,
So there are three things, Mataji. Okay. So in this internal potency, there is external potency, there is marginal potency also. Okay. So the marginal potency is us. Okay. It's okay, Mataji. There are
yes.
three potencies. Okay.
Okay.
These are basically the internal potency of the Lord is like, as you said, right? The example of Radharani, isn't it? Right? So this is nothing but his pleasure potency. Okay, so whenever, say, he wants to actually have any pastimes, right? So like say he want to have the loving relationship, right? So in that case, he actually creates this. Okay, and then material energy, the external energy is nothing but the material energy, right? So whatever we see, the matter is external energy. Okay, Mataji. And then these things are created via Durga Devi. Okay, and then marginal potency is us. Okay, why we are called as marginal potency? Because we have got the independence to choose both the things, isn't it? So the example of land and water, isn't it? And then on the beach, say we are walking. See, we have a choice either to go into the water or we have a choice to go into the land, isn't it? So that's marginal potency.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So we have choice. Okay. So to actually go towards the spiritual or to the material, right? So what is
Okay.
your doubt here, Mataji?
Yes, yes, that's what like the qualities of Lord is the internal thing, and like I was thinking like just the hands, legs, everything, whatever like is the external potencies like that. I was just thinking
No, no,
like that.
Mataji. So simple. Anything which is matter is what? Which goes through 6 phases. Okay. That is material. Okay, Mataji. So
Yes,
remember
okay.
in that way. Okay. And
Okay.
then so
Yes.
Durga Devi is the one who creates this material world. Okay. Mataji.
Mm. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Vancha
Krishna.
kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo nama. Thank you for your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.